In the deep darkness of space, a lonely distress signal drifted across the stars. It was old, cracked, and nearly broken, but still alive, still begging for help. The message came from a dying world, far beyond the known star maps of any human colony. It repeated endlessly, "Help us, please. Anyone who can hear this, our world is dying." For years, no one had answered. The signal was too weak, buried under cosmic noise and forgotten transmissions. But one day, a small research vessel from Earth, the ISS Dauntless, picked it up while studying a nearby nebula. Inside the command deck, Captain Mira Holt leaned forward as the signal played through the speakers. Her crew listened in silence. The voice was not human. It was trembling, metallic, and full of sorrow. Lieutenant Harris frowned. "That doesn't sound like any known alien species we've met." "No," Mira said softly. "But it sounds desperate." The crew exchanged uneasy looks. In this part of space, the nearest civilization was light years away. Most known alien empires had fallen into silence decades ago, after the Great Galactic Collapse. The old alliances were gone. The great fleets rusted, and most races turned inward to survive. But this voice, it carried something rare. Hope. The next morning, the crew decoded part of the signal. It came from a planet called Elindra, a name written in ancient interstellar code. The translation was patchy, but they learned the basics. Elindra was once home to a proud civilization known as the Viral, known centuries ago for their art and peaceful culture. But now their sun was dying and their planet was falling into darkness. They had sent their final message long ago, hoping someone, anyone, would listen. Captain Mira stood at the viewport watching the stars. "If this message is real, that world could already be gone," she said quietly. Harris crossed his arms. "Captain, we're weeks from any support. This could be a trap. We don't even know if anyone's alive there." Mira turned toward him. "And if they are, do we ignore them?" Her words hung in the air. Humanity had become known throughout the galaxy not for its size or technology, but for something deeper, their stubborn compassion. Even in the darkest corners of the universe, when other races turned away, humans often went forward. After a long silence, Mira made her decision. "Plot a course for Elindra." The Dauntless's engines roared to life, glowing blue against the emptiness. The small crew of 16 humans began their journey toward the unknown. During the voyage, they studied what little data they had. Elindra was an ocean planet once filled with green islands and tall crystal towers. But centuries of solar decay had left it scarred by storms and ice. The Viral, if they still lived, would be fighting for every breath. Days turned into weeks. The ship passed through dust clouds and ancient wrecks of long-dead fleets. The universe felt colder here, lonelier. Then one day, as they neared Elindra's orbit, the scanners picked up something faint, energy signatures. "Weak but still active. They're alive," whispered Ensign Talia, eyes wide. Mira smiled faintly. "Let's make contact." The crew sent a signal toward the planet, repeating a simple message. "This is Captain Mira Holt of the human vessel Dauntless. We received your distress call. We are here to help." For a long time, there was only static. Then a faint voice came through. "Human?" "You," answered. It was a tired voice, thin and breaking apart. The translator struggled to keep up. "Yes," Mira said gently. "We're here. What happened to your world?" There was a pause, then the voice spoke again. "Our sun is dying. The light is fading. We have lost most of our people. We sent our plea long ago, but none came." Her crew watched in silence. Harris whispered, "How are they still alive after all this time?" "We adapted," the alien said weakly. "We built cities under the oceans where heat remains. But even that will not last. We had no one else to ask." Mira's voice softened. "We'll do what we can. Can you guide us to your location?" Another pause. "Yes. Follow the beacon. And thank you, human." Hours later, the Dauntless entered low orbit around Elindra. The view was heartbreaking. The planet's surface was covered in frozen seas, broken by thin patches of dark water. The once bright atmosphere was dim, tinted in cold blue light. As they descended, massive ruins appeared, ancient towers buried in ice. The ship's landing gear touched down on a metal platform half buried beneath frost. The air outside was thick but breathable with suits. The landing team, Mira, Harris, and Talia, stepped out, their boots crunching against the ice. From the shadows of a nearby tunnel, figures emerged. They were tall, thin, and covered in pale armor that looked grown rather than built. Their eyes glowed faintly in the dark. One stepped forward and bowed slightly. "We are the last of Alindra," he said. "I am Reinar, guardian of the deep cities." "You are humans?" "Yes," Mira replied. "We came after hearing your message." Reinar stared at them, disbelief on his face. "We sent that message hundreds of years ago." None answered. "We believed we were alone." Mira nodded sadly. "Space is vast, but your voice found us." Reinar's expression softened. "Then perhaps the stars have not forgotten us after all." They followed Reinar through the icy corridors into an ancient facility beneath the surface. Inside, hundreds of Viral were gathered, weak, thin, and pale from generations underground. Some were repairing broken machines. Others tended to glowing gardens that provided faint warmth and air. Talia whispered, "They've survived all this time." Reinar turned to them. "We are few, but we endure. Our sun is failing faster now. Soon no warmth will remain. Our machines can no longer hold back the cold." Harris looked around. "How long do you have?" Reinar hesitated. "Weeks, maybe less." The room fell silent. Mira clenched her fists. "Then we'll help you." He shook his head gently. "Human, your ship is small. You cannot save a world." "Maybe not," Mira said, her voice firm. "But we can save lives." Over the next few days, the humans worked alongside the Viral. They repaired life support systems, restarted old generators, and shared food supplies. Though the Viral were proud and quiet, they were deeply moved by the humans' effort. One young Viral child looked up at Mira and asked, "Why do you help us?" "We are strangers." Mira smiled softly. "Because once, long ago, humans were alone too. And someone helped us. Now it's our turn." The child smiled, and for the first time in years, hope flickered in the dark city. But as time passed, the sun's collapse grew worse. The skies outside turned darker. The heat from the planet's core began to fade. Even the strongest generators could not fight the coming freeze. Mira gathered her crew and the Viral leaders. "We can't stay," she said quietly. "If we try to fix the planet, we'll all die here. But we can take as many as possible to safety." Reinar looked torn. "Alindra is our home. To leave it." Mira placed a hand on his shoulder. "Home isn't just a planet. It's people. As long as you live, Alindra lives too." Reinar looked into her eyes and nodded slowly. "Then let us live." As the Dauntless prepared for evacuation, something unexpected happened. A massive flare burst from the dying sun, sending waves of radiation toward the planet. The ground trembled. Ice cracked. Sirens blared across the city. Mira shouted, "Everyone to the ships! Move!" The Viral ran, carrying children and supplies. The humans guided them toward the landing platform as the world around them began to fall apart. For the first time in centuries, Alindra roared with life again, not in despair, but in determination. When the Dauntless lifted off with hundreds of Viral aboard, the once frozen planet shone in the reflection of its engines. The humans had come when no one else would. They had answered a call forgotten by time itself, and though Alindra was dying, its people were alive. As the ship entered orbit, Reinar looked out the viewport and whispered, "We thought the stars had gone silent, but the humans..." They listened. Mira smiled. "We always listen." The engines of the ISS Dauntless burned bright as it rose from the frozen world of Alindra, carrying the last survivors of the Viral. Inside the ship, the atmosphere was tense but filled with quiet hope. For the first time in centuries, the Viral were no longer trapped beneath the ice, they were among the stars again. Captain Mira Holt stood on the bridge watching the fading planet through the viewing window. "Farewell, Alindra," she whispered. "You gave everything for your people." Beside her, Lieutenant Harris ran diagnostics on the ship's systems. "Engines are stable, Captain, but we're over capacity. The life support wasn't built for this many passengers." Mira nodded grimly. "We'll make it work." "We have to." Hundreds of Viral were crowded in the lower decks. Families, elders, and engineers who had worked their entire lives to keep their dying world alive. Now they looked at the humans with a mix of awe and disbelief. Reinar, the Viral leader, stood beside Mira. His pale eyes shimmered faintly. "You risked your own lives for us," he said quietly. "Why?" Mira gave a small smile. "Because no one deserves to die alone in the dark." Reinar looked out the window. "When we sent our message, we hoped for mercy. We did not expect this." Then maybe it's time you learned who humans really are, Harris said with a faint grin. For the first few days, everything went smoothly. The Dauntless was heading toward the nearest human colony, New Arcadia, a thriving world known for its humanitarian missions. It would take 2 weeks to get there, but on the 4th day, trouble began. "Captain," Ensign Talia reported, "I'm picking up an unusual energy field ahead. It's not natural, it's a debris zone," Mira frowned. "Let's see it." The holographic display flickered to life, showing a massive cloud of wreckage floating in the void. Broken ships, shattered satellites, and strange metallic structures drifted silently. "That's not just debris," Harris said, narrowing his eyes. "That's a battlefield." As they drew closer, fragments of destroyed alien warships came into view. Symbols from multiple extinct races glowed faintly on their hulls. "This must be from the Great Collapse," Mira murmured. "A graveyard of lost empires." They tried to steer around it, but the field stretched far, miles of floating metal and dust. The only path through was narrow and dangerous. "Captain, the Varel reactors are reacting to the radiation," Talia warned. "It could overload if we stay too long." Mira took a deep breath. "We'll move through quickly. Keep shields up and engines at full thrust." The Dauntless entered the field. Pieces of ancient ships drifted past like silent ghosts. Some were the size of cities. The crew worked carefully to avoid collisions, guiding the ship between deadly chunks of debris. Suddenly, a proximity alarm blared. "Contact! Something's moving," Harris shouted. A massive shape emerged from the shadows, a ship dark and silent but still alive. It wasn't human. Its hull was made of black metal, scarred by centuries of battle. Talia's hands trembled over the console. It's an automated warship. "One of the old ones." Before they could react, the ancient ship powered up, its sensors locking onto the Dauntless. "Warning, targeting systems active," said the computer calmly. Mira's voice was firm. "Evasive maneuvers. Get us clear." The warship fired. A beam of plasma tore through space, grazing the Dauntless and sending it spinning. Alarms screamed. Lights flickered. "Shields down to 40%, Harris yelled. "Return fire, just enough to distract it," Mira commanded. The Dauntless's cannons blazed, hitting the ancient ship's flank. Sparks exploded across its hull, but it didn't stop. It fired again, missing by inches. Reinar gripped a railing. "Captain, that ship was built for the old wars. It will not stop until we are destroyed." Mira's eyes hardened. "Then we'll outthink it." She ordered the ship into the densest part of the debris field. The crew followed, weaving between the wrecks at impossible speeds. Metal scraped the hull as they dodged shattered cruisers and spinning engines. "Captain, if we take one wrong turn," Harris began. "Then we don't," Mira cut in. The warship followed, blasting apart everything in its path. Reinar looked at Mira with awe. "You fight with madness." "Not madness," she said, smiling faintly. "Instinct." At that moment, an idea formed in her mind. "Harris, get ready to vent the engine coolant when I say." "What?" "That'll drop our speed." "Exactly." As the ancient warship closed in, Mira gave the signal. "Now!" The Dauntless suddenly released a massive cloud of freezing coolant, creating a misty fog in the void. The enemy ship fired into it blindly, missing every shot. Mira then reversed the engines and dove beneath a floating battleship wreck. The old warship, unable to detect them, crashed into a massive piece of debris. The explosion rippled through space, lighting the void in a blinding flash. Silence followed. The Dauntless floated among the wreckage, alive. Harris exhaled in disbelief. "You actually did it," Mira grinned slightly. "Never underestimate a small ship with a big heart." Hours later, after clearing the debris field, they gathered in the common bay. The Varel survivors cheered softly when they heard what happened. Even the children looked at the humans with wide eyes full of admiration. Reinar stepped forward and bowed his head. "Your people are unlike any we have known. When faced with death, you laugh. When others would flee, you fight. You saved not only us, but yourselves." Mira smiled humbly. "We just did what anyone should do." Reinar shook his head. "No, many would have left us to our fate. You did not." As they resumed their journey, the crew began to notice changes among the Varel. They were growing stronger, more hopeful. Some of them even helped repair damaged systems. They learned quickly, especially the young ones. Talia taught a group of Varel children about human constellations. She pointed at a star map on the wall and said, That one's called Orion. It's a hunter. A virile child tilted his head. Humans name stars? Talia smiled. Yes, we give names to everything, even the dark. It helps us remember who we are. The child thought for a moment, then said, Then maybe we will name our new world after you. Talia laughed softly. You'll find one much better than that. But peace didn't last long. Halfway to New Arcadia, the sensors picked up another signal. This one strong, sharp, and approaching fast. Harris frowned. It's not friendly. Military frequency. Unknown origin. Mira's stomach tightened. Open a channel. Static filled the room, followed by a cold, mechanical voice. Unregistered human vessel. You are carrying prohibited passengers. Prepare for inspection. Prohibited passengers? Mira muttered. Who are you? The voice replied, This is the Dominion Enforcer Vigilant. The virile are a quarantined species. Their survival is forbidden by treaty. Everyone froze. Reinar's eyes widened in shock. Forbidden? What do they mean? Harris checked the archives. Captain, they're right. After the collapse, the Dominion declared certain dying worlds off limits to stop spreading instability. Alindra was one of them. Mira clenched her fists. So they were left to die on purpose. Yes, Reinar said bitterly. We were erased from the records. The Vigilance signal came again. Comply or be destroyed. Mira stood tall. No, not this time. She turned to her crew. Prepare for defensive maneuvers. We're not giving them up. Harris hesitated. Captain, the Vigilant is 10 times our size. We can't win. Then we don't fight to win, Mira said. We fight to protect. The virile in the room looked at her with stunned silence. In that moment, they understood what made humans so different. It wasn't their weapons or technology. It was their courage to stand up when everyone else bowed down. Reinar placed his hand on his chest, the virile sign of respect. Then we stand with you, Mira smiled. Welcome to the fight. The crew hurried to their stations as the stars outside lit up with the approach of the Dominion ship. The Dauntless was outmatched, but its spirit burned brighter than any weapon. Mira stood at the center of the bridge, calm and ready. If they want to take the virile, she said softly, they'll have to go through us. Outside, the first flash of light appeared, the beginning of a battle that would echo through the galaxy. The stars outside the viewing window flared with light as the Dominion Enforcer Vigilant emerged from the dark. It was a massive warship, black metal and sharp edges glowing with cold blue energy. Compared to the human vessel Dauntless, it looked like a giant facing an ant. Inside the Dauntless, alarms echoed. The small ship trembled as scanners locked onto them. Lieutenant Harris looked up from his console. They've charged weapons, Captain. We're in their sights. Captain Mira Holt stood calm and steady in the center of the bridge. Her eyes were firm, but there was no fear. Tell the crew to brace for impact. We'll not surrender. Reinar, the virile leader, stepped forward. Captain, this is our burden. We will go to them so your people may live. Mira turned sharply. No. Not after everything we've done to bring you this far. Humanity doesn't abandon those who seek help. The virile looked at her in silent awe. The humans, small in number but full of fire, had become protectors of a forgotten race. The Vigilant sent another transmission. The voice was cold and robotic. This is your final warning, human vessel. Hand over the virile refugees or be destroyed. Mira's voice was steady. Negative. These people are under human protection. There was silence for a few moments. Then the voice replied, So be it. The first blast struck like thunder. The Dauntless shuddered violently, sparks flying across the bridge. Crew members held onto their stations as the lights flickered. Shields down to 70%, Harris shouted. Return fire, target their sensor grid. Mira ordered. The small ship fired back, its cannons flashing through the darkness. The blast struck the Vigilant, barely scratching its shields, but it forced the giant ship to reposition. Inside the control room, tension was thick. The humans worked fast, coordinating like a single heartbeat. Talia called out, Power reserves dropping. We can't take another direct hit. Then we don't let them hit us, Mira replied. The Dauntless dove sharply, flying through a nearby asteroid field. Massive rocks drifted around them, glowing faintly with reflected starlight. The ship weaved between them, using the asteroids as shields. The Vigilant followed, firing again. Each shot exploded against the rocks, sending debris flying. Mira gritted her teeth. Hold steady. If we can get close enough, maybe we can disable their engines. Harris stared at her. Captain, that's suicide. She gave a small, determined smile. Only if we miss. Renar watched from the corner, amazed by how humans fought. They were outnumbered, outgunned, yet still refused to give up. He turned to the Varel beside him. They fight not for conquest, but for life itself. Yes, whispered one of the younger Varel. They fight for us. In that moment, something ancient stirred in the hearts of the Varel, a feeling they thought long lost. Hope. The Vigilant launched a barrage of missiles, chasing the Dauntless through the asteroids. Mira's hands moved swiftly across the controls. Harris, deploy decoy flares. Talia, reroute all auxiliary power to the rear shields. Explosions rocked the ship as the missiles closed in. The humans fought to stay steady, guiding the ship through a storm of light and fire. A missile clipped their right wing, sending the Dauntless spinning. Damage to stabilizers, Harris yelled. We're losing control. Not yet, Mira said through clenched teeth. Renar, your people built energy shields, didn't they? Can you modify ours? Renar blinked. Perhaps. If I can access your engineering bay, then go. We'll buy you time. While Renar and his engineers rushed below deck, the Dauntless kept moving, dodging more attacks. Every second felt longer than a minute. Finally, Reinar's voice came over the comm. Captain, we did it. We rerouted power using our energy crystals. It should boost your shields, temporarily. Good work, Mira said. Activate it. The ship's hull glowed with a faint green shimmer. The next barrage struck, but instead of tearing through the shields, the energy bent and deflected away. The crew cheered. Harris grinned. That's what I call teamwork, Mira smiled. Now let's show them what humans and Varel can do together. With the new hybrid shield, the Dauntless surged forward. Mira steered directly toward the Vigilant. Talia gasped. Captain, what are you doing? Getting close enough to make them nervous. The Vigilant tried to adjust its aim, but the smaller human ship moved too fast. The Dauntless darted underneath the enemy's hull, flying dangerously close. Target their engine vents, Mira ordered. All weapons full power. The ship's cannons fired in unison, striking the exposed vent ports of the Vigilant. The explosion rippled across the massive hull, sending a shockwave through space. The Dominion warship staggered, its systems flickering. They're losing power. Harris shouted. Mira's eyes flashed with determination. Then let's finish this. Inside the Vigilant, Dominion officers scrambled to respond. Their commander, a synthetic being of steel and blue light, stared at the damage reports. Impossible, he hissed. A human scout vessel cannot defeat us. But the truth was clear. The humans had done what logic said was impossible. Back on the Dauntless, the crew's cheers were cut short as warning lights turned red. Captain, we've taken too much damage. Our core is overheating. Talia cried. Renar, can you stabilize it? Mira asked over the comm. There was a pause. I can try, but it will take time. We don't have time, Harris muttered. The Vigilant's charging its main weapon again. Mira made a decision. Prepare the escape pods. Get the Varel ready. Reinar's voice came back firm. No, we will not leave while you fight for us. Mira looked toward the lower deck camera feeds. Varel families standing together, their faces calm but strong. She felt a lump rise in her throat. Then we finish this together. The Vigilant's weapon glowed bright as a small sun. The humans had seconds to act. Mira gripped the controls. Harris, link our weapon systems to the Varel shield core. If we overload it, it'll release a massive energy pulse. Harris blinked. You mean a blast strong enough to shut them down? Or take us with it, Mira said quietly. Everyone went silent. Finally, Harris nodded. Understood. Reinar's voice came through softly. Do it, Captain. For all of us. The Dauntless turned sharply, facing the massive warship head-on. Inside, the humans and Varel worked side by side. The ship's engines screamed, every system running at maximum. Charging overload, Harris said. 10 seconds. The Vigilant locked on again. 5 seconds. Mira took a deep breath. Hold steady. The stars outside glowed as two lights, one small and bright. One massive and cold, faced each other in silence. Then came the flash. A blinding pulse of green-blue energy exploded from the Dauntless, washing over the Vigilant. Its systems shorted out instantly. The mighty Dominion ship went dark, its weapons silent. The smaller human vessel was thrown backward by the force, tumbling through space. For several minutes, everything was chaos. Flashing lights, alarms, shouts. Finally, the ship stabilized. Smoke filled the bridge, but the crew was alive. Harris coughed. Systems offline. But we're still here. Mira leaned against her chair, exhausted but smiling. Status of the Vigilant? Dead in the water, Talia said. They're completely disabled. The entire bridge fell silent, then erupted into cheers. The impossible had happened. A small human ship had defeated a Dominion warship. Reinar entered the bridge, his eyes glowing faintly. You saved us again, Captain Holt. The stars themselves will remember this day. Mira shook her head humbly. We didn't save you, Reinar. We just gave you a chance to live. He smiled. That is more than anyone has done in centuries. The Dauntless floated in silence, its engines damaged but alive. The humans worked side by side with the Veril to repair the ship. Together they patched hulls, replaced systems, and restored life to the vessel that had become a symbol of unity. As Mira looked out at the wreck of the Vigilant, drifting powerless among the stars, she whispered, Maybe the galaxy needs a reminder that compassion is stronger than fear. Harris turned to her. And who's going to tell them that? She smiled. We will. Once we reach New Arcadia, the whole galaxy will know what humans and the Veril did today. Hours later, the Dauntless's engines reignited. The ship turned toward the distant light of human space. The survivors, both human and Veril, watched through the windows as the stars shimmered ahead. Reinar spoke quietly, his voice full of emotion. Our ancestors once believed that no one would ever come for us. But you did. And now, wherever we go, we will carry the light of humanity with us. Mira nodded. And we'll carry yours, Reinar. Together. The Dauntless soared onward, a small spark of hope blazing across the endless night. The ISS Dauntless glided through the last stretch of interstellar space, heading toward New Arcadia, the human colony famed for its humanitarian work. Inside the ship, the Veril survivors were beginning to feel something they had not experienced in centuries. Safety. Reinar walked through the lower decks, watching Veril families interact with humans. Children laughed as they learned about human games, while the elders shared stories of their long-buried world. The air, once thick with despair, now buzzed softly with hope. He turned to Mira Holt. Captain, I do not know how to thank you. You risked everything to save us. Mira smiled, though her eyes were tired. You don't need to thank me. This is who we are. Humans help when we can because it is the right thing to do. Reinar studied her closely. And not for recognition? Mira shook her head. No, recognition fades, but lives remain. That is enough. Weeks passed in transit. The Dauntless's hull had been repaired with a combination of human and Veril technology. The survivors grew stronger and more confident, learning quickly from their human companions. One evening, as the crew prepared for landing at New Arcadia, Talia gathered a group of Veril children in the observation deck. She pointed to the stars. All these lights? Each one has stories, people, and worlds. Humans have traveled through them to help others, and now you are a part of that story. A young Veril child, her eyes glowing faintly, whispered, We will never forget humans. Good, Talia said softly, because you are part of humanity's story too now. Meanwhile, in the command deck, Mira and Harris reviewed the incoming communications from New Arcadia. The colony had already received preliminary alerts of a disabled Dominion vessel near human space, and the arrival of Veril refugees. Captain, Harris said, frowning, they're sending messages across the sector. Everyone wants to know what happened. Some are calling it impossible. Mira leaned back. It was impossible, and we did it anyway. A new message appeared on the screen. It was from the Colonial Council of New Arcadia. ISS Dauntless, you are cleared for immediate docking. All emergency protocols are active. Prepare for reception. Mira allowed herself a small sigh of relief. Finally, help awaited. As the Dauntless descended into New Arcadia's orbit, the view was breathtaking. Massive cities of silver and glass shimmered under the planet's sun. Ships of all sizes glided gracefully between towers, and sprawling gardens stretched over floating platforms. Reinar's gaze widened. This is a world we never imagined. Such beauty, yet so alive. Mira nodded. And it will be your new beginning. The landing was smooth. As the ship's ramp extended, humans from New Arcadia greeted them. Volunteers, engineers, and medical teams came forward to assist the Veril. Children ran ahead with gifts, offering toys and treats to the Veral children. The warmth of welcome was immediate, and the Veral were visibly moved. In the medical wing, doctors and engineers worked alongside the humans. Mira observed silently, proud of the teamwork. Veral families were reassured, some receiving medical attention for the first time in decades. Renar approached Mira. "Your people, they do not simply help. They embrace others as equals, that is remarkable." Mira shook her head. "It isn't remarkable. It's necessary. No species survives alone in this galaxy. Cooperation is the only way forward." He looked down, contemplative. "Then perhaps humanity is the spark our galaxy needs." News of the Dauntless's heroic actions spread quickly. Hollow communicators lit up across colonies and stations with stories of the small human vessel defeating the Dominion warship and saving an entire species. Scholars, politicians, and ordinary citizens watched in awe. In one council chamber, a new Arcadia governor addressed her advisors. "Humanity has done what no one else dared. Not only did they save the Veral, but they stood against a Dominion ship alone. This will inspire hope across the sector." A young diplomat added, "The Veral survivors will now be ambassadors of unity, their testimony of human courage. It could change the galaxy." Back on the Dauntless, Mira convened a meeting with her crew and the Veral. "This is just the beginning," she said. "New Arcadia can offer safety, but your people must choose how to continue. Learn from humans, work together, and never forget this moment." Reinar's voice was quiet but firm. "We will, and we will honor your sacrifice, Captain. The galaxy will know that humans listened when no one else would." The Veral bowed in respect. Children hugged human crew members, forming bonds that would last a lifetime. As the humans and Veral celebrated the first night on New Arcadia, a new challenge emerged. Scouts had reported Dominion fleets beginning to respond to the disabled warship. Word of the humans' defiance had spread. Some were curious, others were angry, and some were openly hostile. Mira addressed her crew. "We may have saved the Veral, but our actions are being watched. The Dominion will not forget." Harris frowned. "So what now? They can still strike at us or New Arcadia." Mira's eyes gleamed with determination. "Then we show them that humanity and our allies will not back down. We fight, yes, but we also lead. If one small vessel can inspire hope, imagine what an entire galaxy can do when humans and their friends unite." The Veral were quick learners. Engineers adapted to New Arcadia's technology, scientists began studying the Dominion ship, and young warriors trained alongside humans to understand strategy and tactics. Reinar observed quietly. "Your methods are simple yet effective. You fight not because you hate your enemies, but because you value life. That is revolutionary." Mira nodded. "When you value life above fear, courage comes naturally. And courage spreads." Weeks later, a ceremonial welcome was held in New Arcadia. Humans and Veral alike gathered in the Grand Plaza, surrounded by towering spires and floating gardens. Hollow displays told the story of Alindra, the Dauntless, and the battle in the asteroid field. Children of both species laughed and played together, sharing stories of their journey. Elders spoke of survival and hope, and Mira Holt, standing beside Reinar, addressed the crowd. "Today we are reminded that no call for help is ever too small, no species too weak, and no hope too distant. Humanity answers not for glory, but because it is right. Let this be a lesson to the galaxy. Courage, compassion, and cooperation will always endure." The crowd erupted in applause. Reinar's eyes shimmered with tears, his people's long-suppressed emotions finally free. That night, Mira walked along the observation decks with Talia and Harris. Stars stretched endlessly beyond the glass. "Do you think this will change the Dominion's mind?" Talia asked. Mira shook her head. "Not immediately, but it will change minds across the sector. People see what humanity is capable of. They will choose hope over fear." Harris laughed softly. "And we did it all with a ship that's technically too small to matter." Mira smiled. "Size doesn't matter. Heart does. Always has. Always will." As the city slept, a young Veral child stood at the edge of the observation deck staring at the stars. She whispered softly, "We were saved. And the humans showed us what courage means." From across the room, Mira looked at her and nodded. "And you will carry that courage with you. Always." Far beyond New Arcadia, Across countless stars, news of human bravery spread like wildfire. For the first time in centuries, beings from distant worlds believed in something more than survival. They believed in each other. Mira stood silently, gazing at the cosmos. She knew challenges still awaited. Dominion fleets would respond. Wars might come, but humanity had done something far greater than fighting a battle. They had inspired the galaxy. The ISS Dauntless floated in orbit above New Arcadia, the crew and Varel survivors safe for the first time in generations. Yet Captain Mira Holt knew that peace was only temporary. The Dominion's fleets would not forget the bold actions of a single human ship. In the command deck, Mira reviewed the reports. Communications from other colonies poured in, broadcasting awe and curiosity. Humans were being hailed not just as rescuers, but as symbols of courage. Renar approached, his pale eyes calm but thoughtful. Captain Holt, your people have shown us what it means to stand for life. But now the galaxy watches us. Some will admire. Some will resent. Some will challenge us. Mira nodded. That's true. But one lesson is already spreading. Compassion is stronger than fear. Harris, scanning the system, spoke next. We need to prepare for more Dominion interference. Their ships will arrive eventually, but now we have allies here on New Arcadia. The Varel, once cautious and fearful, had adapted quickly. Engineers worked with human technicians, improving the colony's defenses. Young Varel scouts trained alongside human pilots, learning new tactics and strategies. Renar walked through the city, observing his people's growth. Your teachings are simple, he remarked to Mira, yet they ignite change. Courage, cooperation, empathy, these are stronger than weapons. Humans do not just survive, they inspire. Mira smiled. Sometimes inspiration is more powerful than firepower. Never underestimate it. Weeks later, the first Dominion scouts arrived. A fleet of small vessels approached cautiously, their intentions unclear. Messages from the Dominion Council demanded the return of the Varel refugees and threatened retaliation if humans continued interference. Mira stood firm. We will not give up the Varel, not now, not ever. Humanity protects those who cannot protect themselves. Renar addressed his people. The humans have risked everything for us. If they stand beside us, so must we. The galaxy will know that we refuse to return to fear. The Varel nodded, their confidence growing. Children played openly, elders spoke freely, and scientists worked with renewed energy. On the observation deck, Mira, Harris, and Talia watched the Dominion fleet. Their ships glimmered like distant stars, threatening and precise. Talia asked quietly, Captain, can we actually stop them? Mira's eyes swept the horizon. We won't stop them with just weapons. We'll stop them by showing the galaxy a different path. If courage and cooperation spread, fear will lose its power. And if that fails, we'll defend our people together. Harris grinned faintly. That's the human way, isn't it? Mira nodded. Exactly. Always forward. Always together. The first encounter came not with a barrage of weapons, but with communications. The Dominion tried intimidation, sending holographic messages demanding compliance. Renar stepped forward. Captain Holt, they do not understand our resolve. No, Mira replied. But they will. Humans and Varel together, our courage speaks louder than any weapon. In response, Mira authorized a broadcast across the sector. Hollow images showed the Alindra survivors celebrating life on New Arcadia. Stories were shared of the asteroid field battle, the defeat of the Vigilant, and humanity's selfless courage. Every colony, every ship, every station that received the broadcast felt something stir. Hope. Within days, messages of support arrived from independent sectors. Minor civilizations, long isolated and fearful, began offering aid. Traders volunteered supplies. Scientists shared knowledge. Even former rivals sent small fleets to monitor the Dominion's movements, curious and inspired by human bravery. Harris looked at the reports. Captain, it's spreading. Everywhere we turn, someone is responding. It's like... Hope is contagious, Mira nodded slowly. That's exactly what it is. One act of courage can ripple across the stars. Humanity doesn't need to conquer the galaxy. We only need to remind it why life matters. Renar, watching alongside them, whispered, Your people are extraordinary. You fight without hate, yet the universe listens. Weeks turned into months. Under human guidance, the Varel thrived. Schools were rebuilt. Children learned both human and Veral languages, merging their cultures. Engineers repaired ancient Veral technology with human science, creating devices that improved daily life. Renar visited one classroom and smiled as a group of children laughed while playing a simulation game taught by Talia. "In my old world," he said softly, "we would have never imagined such freedom." "Such joy," Talia smiled. "You see, Renar, life isn't just surviving. It's living. And that's what humans believe in, living fully, even in darkness." The Veral elders nodded. "We will carry this lesson forward. Humanity has reminded us of what was forgotten." The Dominion Council finally responded, sending a larger fleet toward New Arcadia. Unlike before, it was cautious, scanning carefully before entering the sector. Mira addressed her crew. "They've seen what we are capable of. They will test us but not yet attack. Our example has shaken them." "That is progress." Renar stood beside her. "Do you think one day the Dominion will change?" "Change takes time," Mira said. "But if enough people see courage and compassion, change becomes inevitable." On New Arcadia, celebrations marked the first anniversary of the Dauntless's mission to Alindra. Humans and Veral gathered together in the central plaza. Hollow images replayed the journey, the battles, and the rescue efforts. Every face in the crowd glowed with pride and admiration. Renar spoke to the assembly. "Our world was lost, our people forgotten. But one human vessel came, defying odds, defying fear, and brought us back to life. Today we stand together as proof that courage can illuminate even the darkest stars." Mira stepped forward. "And let this be a promise to the galaxy. Wherever life is threatened, wherever hope is fading, humanity will listen and humanity will act." The crowd erupted in cheers. Children waved flags. Elders wept quietly. And humans and Veral stood side by side, united by shared courage. As the sun set over New Arcadia, casting golden light over the floating gardens, Mira watched silently from the observation deck. Harris and Talia joined her. "Think the galaxy really noticed?" Harris asked. Mira smiled softly. "It noticed. It saw something it hasn't seen in centuries: selflessness, courage, and hope. That is the kind of power that lasts longer than fleets or empires." Talia leaned on the railing. "And we didn't even fire the last shot to destroy anyone. Just to protect life," Mira nodded. "Exactly. That's what makes it human. We fight, yes, but we fight for life, not conquest." Renar approached quietly. "Captain Holt, your people have given us more than survival. You have given us inspiration. My people will never forget it. And now others across the galaxy see it too." Mira placed a hand on his shoulder. "Then carry it forward, Renar. Share it with everyone. Let every species know that courage and compassion are stronger than fear." He nodded, eyes shining. "We will. And humanity will always be remembered as the light in our darkest hour." The night sky above New Arcadia was alive with stars, but for the first time it seemed warmer. Humans and Veral together looked out at the endless galaxy, not as small, isolated beings, but as a united force capable of inspiring change. Far beyond, Dominion ships paused in orbit, observing the unity they could not crush. Across distant colonies, stories of courage and hope spread like wildfire. Individuals once hopeless now believed in the possibility of a better future. Mira took a deep breath. "The universe is watching, and humanity will not turn away." Harris smiled. "So, what now?" "Now," Mira said softly, "we keep going. We protect life wherever it is. We show the galaxy what humans can do. And we let hope lead the way." The stars shimmered brighter, reflecting humanity's enduring spirit. Across the galaxy, beings whispered stories of the small ship that defied odds, the humans who risked everything for strangers, and the courage that inspired hope beyond measure. And so, humanity's legend grew, not through conquest, but through compassion, courage, and unwavering resolve.